The best international advice for your success starts now.
You thought blood meant something. You thought shared DNA was thicker than shared greed. You were wrong. The call came on a Tuesday. Your father was gone. 3 days buried before anyone remembered your number. You weren't mentioned in the obituary. They spelled your name wrong at the funeral you weren't invited to. And then came the will, or rather, the absence of you in it. Everything split 3 ways. The house, the land, the accounts. Your brothers got it all. You got silence. They had spent years whispering, poison in the well, every family dinner you missed, every holiday you couldn't afford to fly home. They turned your absence into arrogance, your struggle into shame. They told him you didn't care. They told him you abandoned the family, and he believed them, because the last voice always wins with the dying. You sat in your apartment, the one with the leaking ceiling and the neighbors who scream at 3 a.m. You stared at the wall. You replayed every conversation, every moment you chose your dignity over you didn't beg to be understood, and now this. Erased, cut out, written off like a bad debt. The bitterness didn't come all at once. It dripped slowly, drop by drop. You'd wake up and for 3 seconds you'd forget, then it would hit. Your stomach would drop, your jaw would tighten. You'd imagine their faces at the reading of the will, smiling, deserved it, pretending to mourn while mentally dividing furniture. You'd imagine your father's signature, his hand moving across the paper, writing you out, making it official, that thought, that specific image. It hollowed you out. You stopped answering calls. You stopped opening mail. You moved through days like a ghost, drifting through rooms it no longer recognizes. People told you your father was a lawyer, contest the will, make them pay. But you knew what that cost, not just money. Soul. You'd have to relive everything, explain yourself to strangers in suits, reopen wounds that hadn't even begun to scab. No, you let it go, or you told yourself you did. Then came the night you almost didn't survive. Not suicide, nothing dramatic, just a slow dissolving. You stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped seeing any point. You lay on the floor of your living room at 2 a.m., staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked vaguely like a continent. You thought about all the versions of yourself you could have been: the son who stayed, the son who begged, the son who played their game. You hated that you still wanted their approval, even now, even after being erased. That's the sickness, isn't it? The rejected child still wants to be chosen, still hopes the phone rings, still thinks maybe there's a mistake. But there was no mistake. The rejection was intentional, deliberate, final. You whispered something in the dark that night, not a prayer. You weren't religious, more like an admission, a surrender. You said, I have nothing left. If there's anything out there, anything at all, do what you want with me. I'm done fighting. Nothing happened. No lightning, no voice, just silence and the refrigerator humming. You closed your eyes and eventually morning came. But something shifted, slowly, imperceptibly, the way winter becomes spring when you're not paying attention. You stop waiting for them to see you, stop rehearsing the confrontation speech you'd never deliver, stop fantasizing about their karma. You just stopped. The silence that used to terrify you became something else. It became space, room. And in that room, something unexpected started growing, a thought. Dangerous and quiet and completely your own. What if being cut out was the gift? What if their rejection was the exit wound from a life that was never yours to begin with? I want to tell you a story, a real one, not a parable, not a metaphor, something that happened to someone I knew, a woman named Clara. She spent 30 years being the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who showed up. She managed her mother's medications, handled the bills, sat through doctor appointments, while her siblings built careers and families and excuses. And when her mother died, the will left everything to her brother, the one who visited twice a year, the one who forgot birthdays, the one who once didn't call for 18 months, everything, the house, the savings, the jewelry. Clara got a letter, 2 sentences. Thank you for your service. Your brother needs stability. She stood in her kitchen holding that letter. The kettle boiled and clicked off. She didn't move. She looked at the magnets. on her fridge, a photo of her mother, a grocery list, a postcard from Italy her mother never went to. She didn't cry, not then. She sat down at the table and felt something she didn't expect. Relief. The obligation was dead. The performance was over. The audience had walked out. She was free. It took Clara 2 years to realize the brother hadn't won. He inherited a house he couldn't afford to maintain, a property that became a money pit. He inherited the resentment of a dead woman who made him the golden child because she needed someone to idealize. Clara inherited her life, the one she'd postponed, the one she'd sacrificed on the altar of being chosen. She moved to Maine, opened a small bookstore, started painting again, something she hadn't done since she was 19. She told me once that the letter was the kindest thing her mother ever did. She just couldn't see it through the grief. You are not Clara, but you know her. You might be living her story right now. Your brothers bought their inheritance with something they don't even know they spent. Their souls, too dramatic, but something close. They traded decency for dirt. They smiled at a dying man and whispered calculations. They performed love while drafting spreadsheets in their minds. You think they sleep well? You think their victory tastes clean? It doesn't. It leaves a film, a residue, something they'll taste in quiet moments for the rest of their lives. And your father? I won't speak ill of the dead, but I'll tell you this. A man's final signature is his final truth. He revealed what he valued. He showed you who he was, not who you hoped, not who you needed, who he was. Believe him, finally, completely, believe him. Here's what nobody tells you about being erased from a story you thought was yours. The pen was never in your hand. It was never your story to begin with. It was theirs, their narrative, their mythology, their carefully constructed fiction about who mattered and who didn't. And you, out there in your leaking apartment, you were just a character they decided to edit out. Fine. Let them edit. Let them cut. Let them write their ending. But here's the truth that won't let you sleep. Here's the thought that will follow you into every room for the rest of your life. You're now living in a story they can't touch, a narrative they can't manipulate, a life they can't claim credit for or destroy with a signature. You're in the wilderness, the place where everything real gets built, the desert where prophets and lunatics and people who actually live go to become something inheritance can't buy. You lost money, you lost property, you lost a seat at a table where you were never really welcome, and in losing it, you gained something terrifying. Freedom. Not the pretty kind, not the Instagram quote, the real kind. The kind that feels like falling, the kind that makes you sick to your stomach, the kind that forces you to build something from nothing because there is no backup plan, no safety net, no family home to run to when things fall apart. God didn't forget you. The universe didn't make a clerical error. You were cut out because you needed to be cut out, excluded because you needed to be excluded, rejected because approval would have sedated you. Comfort would have numbed you. Belonging would have buried you alive in a life half-lived, surrounded by people who never really wanted you there. They did you a favor, a violent, cruel, beautiful favor. You are still here, on the floor, in the silence, with nothing. And nothing is the best material to build with. Your brothers have their inheritance. Let them choke on it. You have something they'll never possess. You have no one to thank but yourself. And no one to betray you but the mirror. Stand up. The story just started.
Waviamot face phrase. Subscribe for daily spiritual motivation.